Skyrim is considered by many to be an action RPG, simply because while there are role-playing elements, such as character creation and player choice, the main focus is combat, and how you deal with combat is entirely up to the player, whether you want to bludgeon a man with a mace, or turn a rat into dust with magic. If you for some reason wanted to avoid killing any enemies, however, the only real choices the player has is to just run or sneak past most of them. But how far could you get while doing this? That's what I plan to find out. Today I'm going to find out, can you beat Skyrim without killing any enemies? The rules I've set for myself are as follows. I cannot kill anything in the game, so that means no killing any bandits, creatures, or even dragons, no matter what. I can't have any followers. This would make things far too easy, as I could just have them kill everything for me, and that wouldn't be any fun at all to watch. And lastly, no conjurations. Same as the last point, it would be too easy to just stand behind a bunch of summons for the whole challenge this way. And with that, let's get started. Upon arriving in Helgen, we all watched and laughed as Loke here tried to make a run for it, but unfortunately slipped on a banana peel and knocked himself out. This time I decided to play as an Argonian, simply because they start with a slight increase to sneak and restoration, which will be handy to either avoid fights outright, or by being able to keep myself alive in encounters where I can't sneak past. I also chose Argonian for their Hist Skin ability, which dramatically increases your healing for a full minute, which again will hopefully help keep me alive. Once I finish making my handsome boy, hashtag not a scaly, I give him an appropriate Argonian name of Chooses Not to Kill, then proceed with the tutorial. Once I get my hands free, I equipped my healing spells, made sure the difficulty was set to Adept, and then hid in the corner until Raylaf could get rid of the Imperials. I briefly considered taking the Imperial Captain's armor, but after remembering how slow I was in the shield only challenge, I decided to just grab the light armor, and then I began running. Since I'm not killing anything, there's no reason to stop, so I just keep running and running until I get outside of Helgen. Like clockwork for most Skyrim playthroughs, I go to the Standing Stones, and this time take the Mage Stone for the 20% boost to my magic experience. This is so I'll be able to heal myself and others better down the road. Once I got to Riverwood, I went to see if Lucan had any worthwhile spells for me. He didn't, other than Oak Flesh, but I had a feeling it would just be better to run and heal, rather than trying to resist damage outright. So with nothing for me in Riverwood, I made my way up towards Bleak Falls Barrow. I just ignored the bandits at the Watchtower, as they actually aren't hostile unless you get too close, which is fine by me after what happened last time. I decided I was going to try and sneak into Bleak Falls Barrow, as I wasn't sure if the bandits outside would follow me inside or not. So I removed my shoes for better sneaking, and most likely got frostbite on my little lizard toes. It ended up working until I got right in front of the door, but none of them came in after me, so I'd consider that a success. I tried my luck at sneaking again, but I went the same as before, so I just sprinted through, hoping they would lose interest. But they did not, which was a pain, as it also meant the bandit outlaw, who usually dies to the arrow trap, was now aggroed on me as well. I then solved a rather stressful puzzle, not because it was difficult, but because they were attacking me the whole time, and the outlaw especially was doing more damage than I would like. The giant frostbite spider was considerably easier than I had originally thought, as while I freed Arvel, the bandits who were after me easily dealt with it in a few seconds. And while that was going on, Arvel got murdered by a single rat, which is just sad, honestly. As for the bandit outlaw, he dealt with himself. The Draugr were an absolute breeze to avoid, however. The idea of them as enemies is that they are pretty weak, and they are meant to swarm you when you fight them, but since I'm not stopping to fight any of them, they're absolutely no issue. Next, I make my way through to the end of the dungeon and come face to face with the Draugr Overlord, who has the Dragonstone, which I do need to progress the story. Now, you're probably wondering, how do we get it, as I'm obviously not allowed to kill him, as that defeats the purpose of the run, and you can't pickpocket Draugr as they're counted as creatures, so I can't just wait till he loses sight of me and do it that way. The solution is actually surprisingly simple, if a little time consuming. All I need to do is lead him back to the previous room where the swinging saw blades are and just have him walk through them as they deplete his health in a few seconds, meaning I can easily grab the stone from him, and this doesn't count as us killing him, as he was just stupid enough to walk into a giant swinging piece of sharpened metal that has nothing to do with me. The most annoying part about all this, honestly, is just getting him to follow you back, as for some reason he just keeps stopping every few feet. Once I have the stone, it's as simple as going straight to Whiterun and giving it to Farengar. But not before taking the claw back to Lucan, as I want the money to buy spells from Farengar. The spells that I want are the Healing Hands and Fast Healing spells from him, which he happens to have. This is because I have a feeling I'll need the Healing Hands to keep the guards alive during my fight with the dragon that's coming up in just a moment. The dragon itself was surprisingly easy, as I just stand back and play support, making sure to keep Earlith on her feet. This is because she is essential, and she was also doing a lot of damage to the dragon with her magic. All those years of being a mercy main are starting to finally pay off.
Victory!
On my way to meet the Greybeards, I decided that for once I wanted to take a different route to High Hrothgar, as there was no point in going to fight the bandits at the watchtower as I couldn't kill them anyway. So instead I made the only other logical choice and decided to try and scale the side of the mountain that is facing towards Whiterun. I had the idea that if I made my way up this way, I would probably end up inside the Greybeards' courtyard and then could just walk inside from there. It was a long, hard journey that resulted in me slipping and plummeting to the ground a fair few amount of times, mainly because I was attempting to scale a nearly 90-degree mountain. After trying this for nearly 40 minutes, I had a feeling I was close, as I had been making solid progress moving upwards and around the left-hand side of the mountain. That was until, as I was climbing, I saw Ivarstead and made the horrible realization that I had essentially been wasting my time and could have just taken the normal route. So, while highly disappointed, I still made my way to the Greybeards, invaded their personal space a bit, and then left to get the horn. Still in the mindset of wanting to do things a little differently this time, I opted to walk to Ustengrav rather than getting a cart to Morthal and going from there. It was actually a somewhat interesting little adventure. I came across a few mammoths, and to show them I meant no harm, I used my healing hand spell on one of them as a sign of good intentions. The mammoth repaid this act of kindness by impaling me on one of his tusks. After fleeing the mammoth with no manners, I came across a dead bandit and his horse. He was a lot friendlier than the mammoth, so he accompanied me on my adventures and we rode off to Ustengrav. Ustengrav itself proved no more challenging than it usually does. I considered the stealth approach, but was caught almost instantly. Luckily though, that worked out quite well, as that way I just led the necromancers towards the Draugr, and they completely forgot about me to fight with each other. Now, as is highly recommended in most of these runs where I can use shouts, I make sure to grab the Become Ethereal shout, but not before attempting to channel my inner lizard, #NotAScaly, by diving head first into the pond below and dying because it was shallow. Twice. I get the note, and when I leave, I make the heartbreaking discovery that my new horse friend had left me to die inside of Ustengrav. I was nowhere to be found. Back in Riverwood, like usual, Mirok's cultists arrive looking for me. We have a nice chat before they are easily put down by the town's guards. I then also take their robes for the 75% faster magicka regeneration, because that's going to come in handy regardless. I have a completely normal exchange with Delphine, covers Fenn's head with a basket so he can stop simping on Lucan's sister, and then head off to the second mandatory dragon fight. As you can probably imagine, the fight is pretty uninteresting as it's just a repeat of the previous fight, except this time the dragon actually ignores me completely and just goes after Delphine. So I just keep her alive with healing hands until after 5 minutes she defeats the dragon. The embassy was interesting. Interesting because I had absolutely no idea how I was going to get out after I grabbed the documents, as the only way out is through a trapdoor which one of the Thalmor has the key to. That said, just getting to the dungeon was a pain, as by the time I got there I essentially had the entire embassy after me. At first I thought that I had an idea to get out, as usually when you grab the documents a few more Thalmor will arrive with Malborn, but they won't be hostile for a while as they'll be talking with you, so I was hoping I could run up and maybe steal the key from them, but that didn't work, and instead all that happened was that even more Thalmor were now chasing me. So next I thought maybe I could release the prisoner and he would fight the Thalmor for me, and all I'd have to do is keep him alive. Well, I died a few times just trying to free him, only to find out that he won't attack them, so this also did not work. At this point I was becoming increasingly worried that there would be no way for me to proceed without killing one of them for the key. My only other idea was that maybe I could somehow get back out the way I came in. It seemed like a long shot, but it was the only other idea I had, so I started running back. Sadly though, turns out you can't get back into the kitchen as Malborn locked the door behind you and I can't pick the lock. Now, with clearly nowhere else to go but back to where I was, I decided I would sadly just have to go and kill the Thalmor and get the key, making this run a failure. Or so I thought. As I made my way back into Ellenwind's Solar, something strange happened. Rather than the Thalmor all attacking me at once, there was only one of them, and for some reason they completely ignored me and started attacking one of the Flame Atronachs. I saw this as my only chance to be able to sneak into the dungeon and steal the key without killing anyone. Sneaking past the Atronach was probably one of the tensest moments of this whole run, as I ever so slowly moved past it to be able to get back into the dungeon. Once I was back in the dungeon, I finally found Malborn. And as tradition at this point, he of course did not make it. I lured one of the Thalmor agents up the stairs so that I could jump over the stairs as she was coming up so I could get down without being noticed. Once there, I just quick saved and then safe scummed until I was able to steal the trapdoor key without being spotted off of them. And as soon as I did, I just sprinted for the exit as I was just so excited that I managed to pull this off. They followed me down into the cave and I eagerly watched as they were all decimated by the frost troll. It's the little things, you know. Onto the Ratway tunnels, and they were a complete joke compared to what I just spent the last hour on, as all I had to do was run straight to Esbern, talk to him, and run straight back. Thankfully, this time he didn't glitch out and actually followed me back to Riverwood. Esbern did, however, show me this new teleportation move that he'd been working on.
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
On my way to Alduin's Wall, I decided I wanted to put my rock climbing skills to the test one last time, and I was going to see if I could scale up the back of the mountain and just enter through the back door. I actually managed to get to the top this time, but in a cruel twist of fate, for once Bethesda actually thought about players doing this and put up an invisible wall to stop me. I know, I'm just as shocked as you are. So I just went back down and went the normal boring way through Alduin's Wall. Once inside, I grabbed the unique katana Dragonbane. I'll explain why in a little bit. And then made my way to get the Elder Scroll before returning to the Greybeards. This may honestly be the fastest I've ever made it through both Alftan and Blackreach to get the Elder Scroll, mainly because anytime the Falmer tried to attack me, I would just use the Become Ethereal Shout, and then if they did hit me, I could just easily heal myself. Once I grabbed the scroll, I went to take it back to the Throat of the World, although I completely forgot I still hadn't returned the horn to the Greybeards yet, so I had to go through their little initiation first, and then I took the scroll to Parthenax, learnt Dragonrend, and proceeded to have mild war flashbacks as Alduin appeared. In all seriousness, this fight was nowhere near as hard as last time, mainly because now I had a good weapon in Dragonbane, which did extra damage to dragons and I could heal myself if need be. You're all probably wondering why I'm suddenly using a weapon, as you probably think that this is against the rules. In most other situations I would agree, however you don't actually kill Alduin during this fight, you just lower his health to the point where he retreats. So it's okay, and even the in-game stats don't count it towards your kills, which is what I have been using to keep track, just in case. The only part worth mentioning of the Peace Council was that on my way back to High Hrothgar, some of the textures refused to load properly, which was kinda weird, but nothing out of the ordinary for Skyrim, all things considered. Odahviing took all of about 30 seconds to Dragonrend and then trap inside Dragon's Reach, and then it was off to Skuldafn. Getting through Skuldafn was similar to how I got through Blackreach, just a whole lot of healing and becoming ethereal spam. I probably would have died in the room with the first puzzle, but I've played through the story of this game enough in the past few months that I know the correct sequence off by heart now, so it's no problem. What was a problem, however, was trying to get the Diamond Claw off of the Drog Overlord. I knew there was an arrow trap a few rooms before that I could lead him to that would work, but the angle it fires the arrows from is so odd that he just seems to not take damage from them unless he's in a very specific place. It took me nearly 10 minutes, but I eventually got him to stand on the pressure plate one final time and grab the claw from him so we can make our way back outside towards the portal. Once I get to Sovngarde, I engage in the fight with Sudin, as just like the previous fight with Alduin, you don't actually kill him, you just have to damage him enough until he stops fighting. The fight itself was easy, as all it took was a couple of fire brush shouts and a single punch for him to stop. The final battle was no different than any other dragon fight up to this point. I just made sure to keep my allies healed and proceed to let them do all the fighting. It was going incredibly well, as the three of them were doing a lot of damage together and could easily defeat Alduin on their own. Except, as it turns out, they can't kill Alduin. They can do literally 99% of the work and lower him to 1 HP, but Alduin can only be killed by the player. They will just stop attacking him and Alduin will just sit there not attacking until either you finish him or a certain amount of time passes and he will go back to full health and the fight will just start over again. I tried using a non-damaging shout like Dragonrend to see if that would work, but not count as a kill, as it typically does no damage, but it didn't. I even tried dropping some items on the ground and kicking them into him to see if they would maybe damage him, as physics objects in Skyrim tend to if you run into them, but that also didn't work. So, in the end, with seemingly nothing else to do, I used the Unrelenting Force shout on Alduin, killing him. Or at least I think so anyway. The in-game stats say I killed him, but when it comes to lore, no one really seems to know if he's truly dead or not. This is because you don't actually absorb his soul, and some people say that he may reappear again at a later date. However, for the sake of this run, I'm going to say I did kill him, and that in the end, no, I could not beat Skyrim without killing anyone. In the end, even though I wasn't able to beat this challenge, it was a lot of fun going through the game trying to figure out new ways to get past certain obstacles without killing any enemies. I think I want to try the same challenge out in another game, but that'll be for next week's video. With that being said, that's going to be the end of this challenge run video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider giving the video a like and subscribing to the channel, as it really does help me out a lot, and it will let you know when I upload my next challenge run video. My name's Nerbit, and I'll see you later.